Mark Taylor-Canfield in Seattle. Hey, Mark, what's up?
Hey, Tom. Good to talk to you. You know, while all of this hoopla about the impeachment's been going on, there's been another news story around the world where folks have been commemorating the 20th anniversary of the mass protests against the World Trade Organization that took place in Seattle. So those were major historic events that sort of changed modern history. And there were 2 weeks of events in Seattle featuring day-long workshops on fair trade and global justice issues. Nobel Prize-winning economist Joseph Stiglitz was here to deliver the keynote address at Town Hall, so I got a chance to talk to him. Lori Wallach from Public Citizen was in town. And Tom, I was there on the streets as a very young man. You know, that was one of my first experiences of Seattle were the riot cops, and I ended up being the lead plaintiff in a major civil rights lawsuit against law enforcement and city officials for the indiscriminate use of tear gas, which is actually CS gas is what they were using. And I was also a part of this group.
How'd that work out?
Found a group. Well, you know, the judge threw our lawsuit out like 3 or 4 times in a row. So, there are several issues like this ever-expanding no protest zone that was part of the civil emergency orders, where handing out copies of the, Bill of Rights was considered illegal. That's why we formed this group called the Committee for Local Government Accountability and did a big report on it. I wrote a section for the National Lawyers Guild report on it too. But the militarization of police and mass violations of civil rights protests, unfortunately, were the legacy of those protests, Tom, and that's the story that we've been trying to tell in Seattle. Just for future generations to understand, you got to stand up for your civil rights and your right to assemble and peaceably protest.
Amen. Mark Taylor-Canfield. Mark, thanks a lot for dropping by. Good talking with you. And we'll be right back. John Fugelsang is going to drop by in a little while. I'll be picking up your calls right after this. So for our Thom Hartmann Insider videotape, Thom Hartmann here. My new book, The Hidden History of the Supreme Court and the Betrayal of America, has arrived. What if the Supreme Court did not have the power to strike down laws? Discover the hidden history of judicial review and this scam called original intent. Learn how we can save the planet by modernizing the Supreme Court. And most important, how we can democratize the Supreme Court now before it's too late. From the time Americans wake up until the time we go to bed, everything we do, touch, ingest, breathe, and use has been touched by the Supreme Court. In this book, I lay out the history of the Supreme Court from Alexander Hamilton until how the court overstepped its constitutional powers. America does not belong to the kings and queens of the court. It belongs to the people. The Hidden History of the Supreme Court and the Betrayal of America is available now in fine bookstores everywhere. Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you, and Karen in Warren, Michigan. Hey, Karen, what's on your mind today?
Hi. Well, for months now I keep hearing about Mitch